to the Science News Network. Today, we will be interviewing Dr. Julius Robert Oppenheimer, a world-renowned scientist who invented the atomic bomb. Welcome, Dr. Oppenheimer.
Thank you. This is an unsuspected pleasure.
Dr. Oppenheimer, can you tell us a little bit about your upbringing, your childhood?
Well, my childhood, let's start off where I was born. I was born on April 22nd, 1904. I grew up with a younger brother, Frank Oppenheimer. We got along very well. We used to study together. I used to help him. We used to play together. And then my father was a loving father, and he was a businessman, Julius Oppenheimer. And then I had a mother. She was loving, and she was a rich painter, and her name was Ella Friedman.
Dr. Oppenheimer, tell us about your education.
My education? Well, I went to grades 1 through 7, and then I went half of 8th grade. And then I didn't go to college until I was 19. I was a year late because I suffered from colitis. Oh, at the age of 19, I went to Harvard University. And then, at the age of 22, I went to England to study physics and at the School of Christ College. Later, I went to Germany to study physics again at the School of University of Göttingen. And then I went to California Institute of Technology. And then I graduated later in 1936 at the age of 32 at University of California.
Dr. Oppenheimer, can you quickly tell us about your thoughts of having a good education?
Well, having an important education is always good. If I didn't have an education, I might have not created the atomic bomb. I might have not been here today. Without a good education, our world might not be like it is today.
Dr. Oppenheimer, I've learned that you also published a very famous and noteworthy paper in the Scientific News Journal. Can you share a little bit about that?
Well, the paper I published, it was my first paper. It was called The Quantum Theory of Molecular Spectra. It was about the theory of physics, and it made me more, how do I put this, more knowing in science.
And it does sound like you know a lot about physics, Dr. Oppenheimer. How did all of that information affect your life?
Well, it affected my life in a really good way. After college, the colleges I went to, for example, Harvard University or the University of California, wanted me back to be their head researcher. Also, I published 2 new papers, and that made me be more famous in science.
I heard too, Dr. Oppenheimer, you had the opportunity to work with the great Albert Einstein. Can you talk about that?
Yes, that is true. I worked with Albert Einstein. He had a brilliant mind. We talked together about what we thought of nuclear weapons, and we discussed the theory of physics.
Dr. Oppenheimer, can you share with us a little bit about your lovely wife, Mrs. Oppenheimer? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, Mrs. Oppenheimer, she's a lovely wife. She supported me in all my research and everything I do. We got married on November 1st, 1940, and her maiden name was Catherine Harrison Pulling.
Dr. Oppenheimer, you said you got married in 1940. At that time, the United States was witnessing the beginnings of World War II with Germany and Japan. Can you share a little bit about your feelings of the beginning of this World War?
Well, knowing that the Germans and the Japanese were gearing up for war was very, frightening. I didn't want anything to do with war. I didn't want there to be war. But as you know, they ended up coming for war, and so I had to protect my life, and I had to protect everything I owned as well as I could.
Dr. Oppenheimer, it says here that in October of 1941, you began a secret government project known as the Manhattan Project. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes. So, on October 1st, 1941, I was invited by James B. Compton to be the director of the Manhattan Project. The Manhattan Project was a secret government project that had to build the most powerful weapon mankind has ever seen. But the U.S. government wanted a future in nuclear energy. So we tried and we came up with the atomic bomb.
Dr. Oppenheimer, it's known now that you became the head of the Manhattan Project in October of 1941. Can you talk a little bit about the Manhattan Project?
Well, basically the Manhattan Project, it was basically me, Albert Einstein, and Enrico Fermi. We created a bomb more powerful than anything mankind's ever seen, the atomic bomb.
What is an atomic bomb, Dr. Oppenheimer?
Well, not atomic bomb is a bomb with inside it's atom splitting, creating atomic fission, which releases a lot of energy and it repeats itself. And it's known to kill thousands of people.
Dr. Oppenheimer, realizing that this atomic bomb, or two atomic bombs, were used at the end of World War II against Japan, can you share with us a little bit of information about that?
Well, when the first bomb dropped on Hiroshima, I was devastated of how much it actually did. When it dropped on Nagasaki 3 days later, it was just as destructive. I felt like I have killed thousands and thousands of people. I did not like what I did. If I went in the past, I would have changed it.
Dr. Oppenheimer, after World War II had ended, we had dropped the two atomic bombs on the Japanese in Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Many in the country felt that you were a savior, that you had ended the war. A few years later, the U.S. government asked you to work on another project. Can you talk about that?
Well, yes. Later in the 1950s, or the early 1950s, I should say, the U.S. government asked me to work on another project, to work on the hydrogen bomb, or also known as the nuclear bomb. I resigned my position as director, and all of a sudden, people thought I was a communist.
Dr. Oppenheimer, why did you resign that position? You were such an important part of the Manhattan Project.
Well, I resigned my position because I hated the idea of how they use the atomic bomb by killing people. I think that nuclear energy is a great thing, but I think that they did it. I used it in the wrong way.
Dr. Oppenheimer, it is clear that you had a moral issue with what you had accomplished through your knowledge and experience of nuclear energy. And there was certainly a backlash from many Americans who thought you should have pursued the hydrogen bomb. Can you talk to us a little bit about what people thought of you at that time?
Well, when I resigned my position for the next project for the hydrogen or nuclear bomb, people called me a communist, unpatriotic, because I didn't like the rules or what they were doing in the U.S. government. I got put on trial, but thank God, I should say, the judge was on my side, and a lot of the people that I worked with were on my side, and I got off innocent. But still, I was very disappointed in the people calling me communist or unpatriotic, because I didn't like the idea of killing people.
Dr. Oppenheimer, now that you're away from politics and the government, how are you spending your time?
Well, excuse me. I'm spending my time right now working as the director of the California Institute of Technology. And right now, it's kind of hard for me because currently I am battling with lung cancer, and it's not great for my health, and doctors don't know how long I have. But it's still an honor to be the director of the California Institute of Technology.
Dr. Oppenheimer, you've lived a very accomplished life. You've received many awards and honors throughout your career, from being featured by Time magazine, nicknamed the father of the atomic bomb, the Presidential Medal of Merit, the Army-Navy Award of Excellence, being appointed to the director of the Institute for Advanced Study. You certainly have made many accomplishments, sir. Can you talk about that?
Well, certainly I have made a lot of accomplishments. I think I've helped to end World War II. Like, I also got, and helping ending World War II also helped me win a lot of those medals for the AEC's Echo Fermi Award, the Presidential Merit Award. But my biggest accomplishment I'm not proud of. My biggest accomplishment killed thousands and thousands of people, and in the future could kill tens of thousands of people. So I've become death, the destroyer of worlds.